Hey, what's up, y'all? This is FSGM here once again. Um, going to discuss the Giants 8-3 road trip that they just finished up tonight. And for starters, let's just start with the obvious. In April, there's an old saying that you can't win your division in April, but however, you can lose it in April, right? So, the fact that they were able to go 8-3 on a long road trip is just it's fantastic to say the least. And I think it's also sending a message to the rest of the league that hey, no, that 107 win team wasn't a fluke. So I think there was a lot of naysayers about the Giants' season last year, and I think that having a strong road trip like they just did really sends a message across the league. Um, Also, as you guys can probably tell or see for yourselves, the National League West is fierce, man. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. Especially since San Diego were able to, the Padres were able to get Bob Melvin from the Athletics to be their managers. It's like, geez, that's one of the best offseason moves. Um, in Colorado, we'll see if Colorado can keep pace. But until further notice, it's a three team race, much like last year with San Diego, the Dodgers, and the Giants. Um, as I mentioned, we'll see if Colorado can keep pace, and we'll see how it goes. But anyways, back to the road trip. As I mentioned, the fact that the Giants were able to go 8-3 on this East Coast trip, and able to salvage a win or squeak out a win, if you will, down the stretch in Milwaukee against Corbin Burns was just fantastic. On a quick side note, you fans out there might want to stop talking smack to Jock Peterson. That was pretty. For me, it was hilarious. For those of you who don't know, there was a fan talking, shall I say, smack to Jock Peterson, and then a couple pitches later, maybe even the pitch after, he hit a monster home run to give the Giants the lead at the time, and then unfortunately, McGee gave up a home run to someone, I can't recall who, but he gave up a home run to somebody to tie the game. But luckily, Gonzalez was able to give the Giants the lead, and they were able to finish it off. So, like, just that in itself, given that because of I heard it was because of the lockout and all that garbage that they had to do a one game swing in Milwaukee after a long road trip. And Sean Estes said this on the post game wrap. The fact that the Giants just didn't go in there like a sleeping dog, if you will, and just kind of, oh, whatever, we had a decent trip, let's just go 7-4. The fact that they were able to not only win, but the way that they won it with the bullpen game, and really really put their foot on the gas and really stamp this as a fantastic road trip, really bodes well for the future. And yeah, so far so good, right? They're keeping pace. But I also wanted to say I saw the stat tonight or later today or whatever about the Giants, run scoring, and they're ranked pretty high at 4.94, I think it was, or something like that. But my gut, let's be honest. Sometimes the stats lie, right? Like I understand they're scoring about 4 to 5 runs a game, but I'll go back and look when I do my blog post tomorrow, and I'll mention that before I end this video. I would really like to know what they were scoring before the trip to Cleveland against the Guardians, because they weren't scoring that many runs. Let's be honest. Like I said, I'll dive into it more tomorrow for my blog post. But yeah, I think that the stat there was a little deceiving or misleading for now. But that doesn't mean I don't think they can score. It's just right now, given their injuries and all that, yeah, their offense hasn't. I don't know. For me, it hasn't done all that much. But time will tell going forward. Um, but specifically, as I mentioned, because this is a series recap or a road trip recap, it's anytime you can go above 500 on the road, right, is awesome. You know, all sports fans know, regardless of sport, you want to go 500 on the road and crush it at home. So the fact that the Giants were able to, you know, get a 5 game cushion on their road record was just awesome. And yeah, I mean that's really much it, right? I mean it was just typical Giants baseball, everybody's contributing, or those, especially the new guy. We all know who that new guy is. Luckily, he's with the good guys now, right? Not with the team down south. So, Jock Peterson has been awesome. I hope that he can keep it up and really be that difference maker that we need, right? Because getting into roster construction a little bit here. I don't really know, other than him, and maybe Yaz will get back into it. But other than him, to be honest with you, their outfield depth and they're just the names on the roster for the outfield. They haven't really produced that much, right? And so it's nice to see at least one guy really mashing the ball, right? So, and we'll see once Yaz comes back from COVID, Mike Yastrzemski, if he's able to, lock back in and be his old self. But on a side note, he has got to start laying off that middle of the strike zone fastball or above his hands, because he can't, for whatever reason, he just doesn't want to lay that pitch off. But yeah, he needs to work on that. I even noticed that in spring when I watched him a few times in spring. He still hasn't been able to figure that out. But anyways, so as the season goes on, it'll be interesting to see what the Giants do. But for right now, they're just plugging away. Right, the bullpen was fantastic as always. Um, Unfortunately, the starters, got a little banged up. Cobb and Disclafani got hurt, right? So that was unfortunate, and the same for Duggar. But that gets back to what Farhan says all the time, and the Giants management, is that that's why the 40 man is the 40 man, and you can't take any spots for granted, because every spot is valuable. And look, we saw that tonight with Gonzalez. I remember when they announced that move last year. It kind of went under the radar, but then they were said, this guy was a third round pick, I think it was, with the White Sox. And so anytime you're in the top 3 rounds in the baseball draft, that's saying something. And I looked at it today. He's only 26 years old, and I believe he'll turn 27 in September. But anyways, it was just fantastic that once again their roster depth really kicked in. Because especially in any sport, regardless, injuries are going to happen. It just seems, for whatever reason, that now more than ever over the last few years, injuries are mounting, or just continuing to happen. And it's good that the Giants have the roster depth through all their system to cover when that does happen. So there was a lot of good in that on that road trip, obviously, but then there was some bad, right? We went to New York, and we lost the doubleheader. That kind of sucked. We coughed up one. Really, we should have split the doubleheader, and split it entirely, go 2-2 on that trip, right? So we could have been 9-2 on this trip instead of 8-3. But hey, those are the kind of the games when you look back, you know, through the monthly recap, or as the season goes on, you go through every month. You're like, oh yeah, I remember that game, and we coughed it up. But that's gonna happen in baseball. But yeah, that was an unfortunate trip in New York, because we really could have split that. And yeah, but and then they played the Guardians, obviously. And look, as sports fans know, you have to beat the teams you have to beat the teams you're supposed to beat, right? And so even though the Guardians have some nice talent, look, there's no secret that what they're trying to do with their roster is that I can't believe, on a quick side note, I can't believe the Mariners were able to pull off the trade that they did with the Guardians. It's just like I shook my head. It was crazy. What getting Jesse Winkert and Suarez for what they gave up. It was just like, really. And yeah, Major League Baseball has to continue to look at those type of things because it was just like it was baffling. But anyways, like I said, when you play the bad teams, you got to beat them up, and and that's what they did. They took care of business. And so, like I said, you handled business in Cleveland. You kind of coughed it up in New York, and then you went to Washington, and you just, once again, that's another team that's rebuilding, and you have to mash on those teams. You have to stomp on them, and that's what they did. So good for them, and that was kind of Jock Peterson's coming out party, and he continued that today, obviously, and so that was good to see in Washington. And as I mentioned earlier, the fact that the Giants just didn't go in there, Santa or whatever. It's just a one gamer. The fact that they were able to do a full on bullpen game and get this done was just was great to see. So that pretty much covers the road trip recap for me. Just a couple things on a quick side note, and I'll announce it on my on my other platforms as well. After every month, I will do a full monthly recap and go over their record and so on and so forth. So that'll be fun to do also. But yeah, to close this out, look, the Giants just need to keep plugging away, right? They need to get guys healthy. They need to get Cobb back, and on all accounts, I've heard that Cobb's injury isn't that serious, so he'll be back. Honestly, I don't know about Disco, so I got to look at that and see what his injury is. So yeah, like it's kind of interesting that already the Giants starting staff is already getting banged up. I don't, hopefully that's not a continuing thing because you got to have starting pitching in today's baseball. And if there's one position group that you don't want to see getting injured consistently, it's the starting staff, right? But that's why we have one of the best bullpens, if not the best bullpen in baseball, and Cap and Andrew Bailey and his staff have proven that they can handle these bullpen games and not burn out our guys long term. So it's great to see. Anyways, like I said, has been the full 11 game recap of the Giants road trip, and I'll be talking to you guys soon. Once again, this has been the Giants road trip recap, and this has been FSGM. Talk to you guys soon. Take care.